Welcome to the CCEF Blogcast, where CCEF authors read their own blogs. Today, Todd Stryd is reading his blog titled, He Knows All About It, C.S. Lewis and Psalm 103. Todd shares an excerpt from Mere Christianity that considers God's compassion towards us, even in the face of temptation.
He Knows All About It, C.S. Lewis and Psalm 103. One of my favorite quotes by C.S. Lewis is from his popular book, Mere Christianity. This is the quote. "But if you are a poor creature, poisoned by a wretched upbringing in some house full of vulgar jealousies and senseless quarrels, saddled by no choice of your own with some loathsome sexual perversion, nagged day in and day out by an inferiority complex that makes you snap at your best friends, do not despair. He knows all about it. You are one of the poor whom he blessed. He knows what a wretched machine you're trying to drive. Keep on. Do what you can. One day you may astonish us all, not the least yourself, for you have learned your driving in a hard school." Let's be honest. In this particular quote, Lewis shows himself to be an equal opportunity offender. His strong language and provocative examples catch us off guard. They push our buttons, and they seem to offend most everyone. For some, it's finding his use of, quote, loathsome to be a callous and uninformed usage. For others, his statement, no choice of our own, avoids issues of sin and culpability. Whatever it is, most of us can find something in this quote that we take issue with. In spite of this, what I've come to appreciate most about this quote is how it maps onto the Christian experience of living in a fallen world. It captures our lived experience of dealing with sinful hearts and broken bodies and how we exist and operate parallel to God's tender and compassionate posture towards us. First, in describing the human experience of suffering and trouble, Lewis injects a degree of dignity and honor into the more challenging and disruptive of human problems and disabilities. This perspective swims upstream from our reflexive instincts, and that's what is so helpful about it. He goes on to creatively describe how so many of our difficulties constitute learning to drive in a, quote, hard school. He frames it this way because, as he states, we tend to be saddled with these afflictions, again, quote, by no choice of our own. Is Lewis saying our sin is not our fault because we didn't choose it? At first glance, it might appear that Lewis's automobile analogy is ignoring personal responsibility or the moral dynamics of the heart. It's more likely, however, that he's just choosing to emphasize something that is far too often left out. Lewis is broadening our understanding of temptation. Lewis is giving appropriate recognition to the fact that these types of challenges and afflictions are always a complex and intertwined compilation of hardships outside our control, others' sin against us, our insatiable appetites and cravings, and our own foolish actions and decisions. He is right, then, to ascribe a certain level of valor and faith to those courageously striving with hope and conviction in a heated battle against temptation, the temptations that beset us. For the Christian, these temptations are one of our most severe trials, and engaging them in faith and trust is one of our most noble tasks. Regardless of the concerns we may have with Lewis's examples of temptations, his central thrust remains relevant and timely. Lewis is reminding us that temptation is a form of suffering. We don't often think of temptation in this way, though, do we? we rightly see it as something to be fled or fought. But we don't think of temptation itself as a trial and tribulation. But it is. None of us got to choose the particular lusts of the flesh or bents of the heart that we uniquely face. We never picked the childhoods, the limitations, or traumas that create the occasions and the contexts in which each of us is tempted to love ourselves above God, or to put our interests above our neighbors. My particular set of temptations and troubles differ from yours, and yours differ from those around you. Therefore, there is dignity, honor, and beauty found in a person striving to honor God and love their neighbor, despite the temptations that arise within their respective circumstances and liabilities. Second, and most comforting, Lewis emphasizes God's compassion for us amidst the hardship and handicaps of our distinct temptations. With his automobile analogy, Lewis captures God's tender-hearted posture towards his people. God is not blind to what his children are up against in this life. He does not stand at a distance, callous and aloof. Rather, he bears an intimate and personal knowledge of what is happening to his children and what is confronting them. Lewis emphasizes this state of affairs perfectly when he states in his quote, "He knows all about it." Not surprisingly, Lewis's presentation of our loving and compassionate Father is powerful for us because it is true. He is only reiterating and repackaging what the Scriptures already say. This exact sentiment is echoed in Psalm 103, verses 13 and 14. As the psalmist proclaims, "The Lord has compassion on those who fear him, for he knows how we are formed. He remembers that we are dust." These verses announce that God indeed knows our frame and our finitude, and that because of this knowledge, he has compassion. Like Lewis's quote, Psalm 103 takes us full circle. Despite trials and tribulations, weaknesses and limitations, and the temptations that ride upon our coattails, the Lord's faithful love is indeed towards those who fear him. This same God knows all about it. He knows the machine you're trying to drive.
The Christian Counseling and Educational Foundation exists to restore Christ to counseling and counseling to the church. To learn more about our mission and explore our resources, events, and online courses, visit ccef.org. Today's fun fact is about CCF's new Dean of Faculty, David Gunderson. David, who goes by Gunner, joined CCF after 7 years of serving as a lead pastor and over 20 years of experience in academia.